Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy, Pigskin Pete. Happy Thursday to everybody. So with the very depressing news over the past 48 hours, especially over the past 24 hours, this coronavirus thing is ruining sports for all of us, okay? And I don't mean to diminish or demean the seriousness of this this virus, this disease, whatever you want to call it. But let's take a few minutes here and forget about the coronavirus and all the sports around the world that are being canceled and talk about sports that we love, at least what I love, and a lot of you Clemson fans out there love as well. Been doing these top 5 lists. Did quarterbacks, top 5 greatest Clemson quarterbacks of all time. Did running backs. Did wide receivers. Been getting a lot of great feedback from all of you people in the comment section regarding these top 5 lists. It does surprise me a little bit how triggered it offended people get when you don't have one of their top 5 players in there. Even though I've said over and over again, this is my top 5 list, okay, and it's just my opinion. Now, I decided today, after suggestions and my own personal recollection or reflection, to do defensive linemen. Now, this is by far the hardest one I've had to do. By far. I thought the wide receiver one was hard. This takes the cake. I could have narrowed it down. I could have done top 5 defensive tackles, and then maybe did another video where I did top 5 defensive ends, so on and so forth. But I decided just to do top 5 defensive linemen. Now, here's the problem with this. Clemson's history, from long before any of us were even alive, has been rich at the defensive line position. It's really Clemson's best position in history over the lifetime. You go back and you look at teams like Georgia, for example. What are they known for throughout their history? Producing world-class running backs, both in college and the NFL. All right? For Clemson, that position is defensive line. And it's not even close, really. Now, they've produced a lot of great other players at other positions, but as a whole, defensive line is Clemson's greatest position of all time. And it continues to be that way. Now, in past videos, what I did was I named a bunch of honorable mentions, trying to give reasons why they could still be in the top 5, but I didn't pick them to be in my top 5. This will be a 100-person long list. And I've also found that doing these honorable mentions isn't helping my case at all. Because people, I remind people of what certain players, and they go, oh, well, he should be in the top 5. So, hey, look, I'm going to forego all that. It's just too many of them. And honestly, what this list is going to be different than the others in this way. This is going to be my top 5 favorite players on defense of all time. That's all. I don't even know if I can say the top 5 greatest. Because for every single one of these guys I named, there's 3 others that you could put on this list. Or more. All right, so I'm really looking forward to seeing you people's top 5. But out of 40, 50 guys that all could fit in this top 5 list, I'm going to give you my top 5 favorite. All right, love it, hate it, do whatever you want with it. But let me know yours when we're done here. All right, so without further ado, we're going to get right into it here. Number 5 on the list. Now, this guy is definitely not on this list for stats. This guy made my top 5 list for one reason and one reason only. He's a household name. He's one of the most iconic football players at any level in football. You could go up to a person who's never even seen a Clemson football game in their life, doesn't even know what state Clemson is in, probably in another country. You could go over to France. Everybody knows who this guy is. Everybody. William Refrigerator Perry played at Clemson from 1981 to 1984. Now, granted, William Refrigerator Perry is, again, he's not top 5 in stats. There's a lot of guys that aren't on this top 5 list of mine that have better stats than he did in college. And I realize that's been I've been placing, up until now, a premium on their college career, not their NFL career. He's definitely more known for the NFL than he is college. But he still was a great college player. I mean, he was the ACC Player of the Year in 1984. All right, he was an All-American in 1983. But he's much better known as part of the 85 Bears defense and a Super Bowl champion with Chicago Bears. Also, he's known for being a defensive player that played tailback because of his size. We saw what they call the fridge package. We've seen this both in college, at Clemson recently with Christian Wilkins, and even other defensive players in the NFL have done what they call the fridge package, where they take a giant defensive lineman and put him at tailback on short and goal situations. Anyway, this is all named after Refrigerator Perry. Now, the sad news about Refrigerator Perry is that last I heard, and I don't want to speculate on something I don't know a whole lot about, but I do know that at least up until a couple of years ago, he's not doing well. He's not doing well financially or health-wise. Okay. William Refrigerator Perry is a legend in the state of South Carolina. He's a South Carolina born and raised kid. He still lives in South Carolina to this day. And anyways, I hope he's doing better. Famously, we all know who Rex Ryan is, right? In the NFL. Former NFL head coach. Rex Ryan was the defensive line coach for the 1985 Bears when they drafted Refrigerator Perry. Rex Ryan said publicly to the media, "We wasted our pick on this guy." Well, how wrong was Rex Ryan? And the irony of this is that now Rex Ryan sent his son to Clemson, and he's the biggest advocate on TV for Clemson football and Dabo Swinney. So everything comes full circle. There you guys have it. Number 5 on my list, greatest Clemson defensive lineman of all time, William Refrigerator Perry. Number 4 on the list, Gaines Adams. Gaines Adams was a defensive end from 02 to 06, wore number 93. Unfortunately, Gaines Adams passed away in 2010 unexpectedly from an unknown heart condition. Died way too young, but still will go down as one of the greatest defensive players to ever put on the orange jersey with the white ball. All-American 2006, All-ACC 2006, ACC Defensive Player of the Year 2006, and tied the record for the most sacks in the history of a Clemson defensive player with 28. He tied with Michael Dean Perry, who Michael Dean Perry did not make my list, but he easily could have. And he was a legend as well. Very easily could have. So Gaines Adams he's a favorite among Clemson fans. He's almost a folklore type character, even though it wasn't really that long ago that he played. I mean, he played this century since 02 to 06. Anyway, rest in peace, Gaines Adams. He's a fan favorite, and he's one of my favorite as well. Number 3 on the list, another guy, ironically, who also wore number 93. Daquan Bowers, defensive end. Played from 2008 to 2010. This was one of Dabo Swinney's quote-unquote babies, right? Dabo Swinney took over the head coaching job in 08. So he was one of those guys that was part of the very beginning of what we now would recognize as a dynasty going on at Clemson. Daquan Bowers, 2010 All-American, 2010 All-ACC, Bronco Nagurski Award winner, Ted Hendricks Award winner, and ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Had a pretty good NFL career as well. But this guy, when he was on Clemson's defense, was the best player on the defense. And I would say that players like him were certainly responsible for helping Dabo Swinney recruit what would become the next great generation of defensive players for Clemson. So Daquan Bowers, definitely in my top 5, and he's coming in, as a matter of fact, at number three. Now, these last two, well, first of all, the three that I just mentioned, William Perry, Gaines Adams, and Daquan Bowers, all native to South Carolina. These are in-state guys. For all the people out there that say that South Carolina doesn't produce any football talent, well, there you go. These are all native South Carolinians. Now, the last two aren't. The other interesting thing about the last two is that they played together on the same team at the same time. The other interesting thing about the last two that I'm going to name is that they are very recent. And you can flip-flop these two guys, but I'm going to tell you what. Number one, I don't think he can be argued with. I really don't think that my number one guy can be argued with. But before we get to number one, we have to do number two, don't we? It's the way things work. Number two on the greatest defensive lineman in the history of Clemson football, Clelin Ferrell. Clelin Ferrell. From 2016 to 2018, Ted Hendricks Award winner in 2018, Defensive Most Valuable Player Award, and the 2016 Fiesta Bowl college football playoff game against the Ohio State Buckeyes, 31-0. 2018 ACC Defensive Player of the Year, 2018 Consensus All-American, two-time first-team All-ACC, two-time national championship winning player on what I consider to be at least in the top three, probably the top two, and most likely the best defensive line of any college football team in the history of college football. Drafted number 4 overall by the Oakland Raiders. And from what I can tell, these Oakland Raiders fans, they love this guy. And what's not to love? So coming in at number 2 all-time defensive lineman in the history of Clemson football, number 99, Clelin Ferrell. And last, but oh very not least, on the list of the greatest of all-time Clemson defensive linemen, this really isn't close, folks. And it's not just because of stats. I'm going to read you the awards and the stats and the accolades. But this guy epitomizes what we've come to know as the Clemson football program as it is today. He's the embodiment of what Dabo Swinney's vision is for this program. And I would go as far as to say, Deshaun Watson's probably my favorite Clemson player of all time. Probably. I mean, there's a lot of guys up there, but if I was going to separate it to offense or defense, this guy's my favorite defensive player of all time. And I don't really see anybody breaking that. I don't care if they win 4 straight national championships with another player and he dominates college football. It's going to be hard to get better than number 1, Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins ended up being the 13th pick in the NFL draft to the Miami Dolphins. 2018 Jim Tatum Award winner. 2018 William V. Campbell Award winner. 2-time college football playoff national champion. 2018 Consensus All-American. 2-time first team ACC. And in 2016 second team All-ACC. Probably the most flamboyant, noticeable player on the field on every single game he ever played in a college uniform. Lifted all of his teammates up around him. Decided with these other guys, Clelin Ferrell included, Austin Bryant, to come back in 2018 when he could have went to the draft to make one last push at winning a national championship. All they did was become the first team in modern history to go 15-0 and win a national championship and completely dominated everybody that year. Held the almighty, the best, what many were saying was the best Alabama offense in the history of Alabama football to 16 points in the Natty. This guy right here, number 42, is the mother effing man. If you don't know who he is, you better learn about him or go watch something else because football is not your thing. So there you have it, folks. I'm sweating over here. And listen, I didn't realize we got players out the wazoo that I did not mention. Go ahead and mention them in the comments. I get it. There's only 5 spots. I can only do my 5. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. I'm sure there's a bunch of other people you're going to tell me that deserve to be in the top 5. That's your top 5, buddy. This is mine. Have a great day. Next time, we're going to be doing linebackers. Make sure you wash your hands and use some hand sanitizer. And don't be an idiot and don't be coughing in people's faces and stuff. Have a great day. Pigskin Pete checking out.